So Ekinsik we've just left is that bay just down there. That's where we anchored overnight after a rough passage from Gocek yesterday. Marmaris is just round that corner there, about an hour and a half from here. And Rhodes is the island that you can just see in the distance there. That's 26 miles away. So there's Rhodes. As I say, Marmaris is just round that corner. And that headland there, if you go seven hours at about six and a half knots that way, you'll come to Gocek and Fethiye. And the Dalion River is just round that corner there, and it goes through that valley over the back, and it's a river that winds all the way up, and you come to some of the rock cut tombs with restaurants and bars, and the little boats that take you up there. You have to go on a boat trip, you can't go up on your own tender. There's too many sandbars that you have to know how to get around. But once you've gone up that river, there's some old ruins, Roman and Greek ruins that you can explore. But it's very beautiful. But it's a fantastic coastline. Shame to be leaving Turkey. We've been here for 6.5 weeks. And that's the end of our sailing Turkey this year. This is our last sail of the season.
Third radio, 24 hours, marine weather report, will be broadcast on channel 67.
Channel 67 for a weather report. That will come across in Turkish first and in English after. The wind's just starting to pick up as we leave the bay. This is some big bay. The bay before this is even bigger. This one took about 2 hours to get over yesterday, but the bay before this takes about 3.5 hours. So if you look at the size of this bay that takes you down into Ekinsik, that takes a good 2 hours, 2 and a bit hours to get over. But there's another one of these bays that's 1.5 times this size and takes 3.5 hours to get over. So yeah, last sail of the season. Next time reality we'll be sailing will be May and June around the Greek islands of next year. So we're a third of the way into our journey today, on our way to Rhodes. On our starboard side we've still got the mainland of Turkey. Just over there is the entrance into Marmaris. Behind us is where we stayed on anchor, and heading right way down there would be for Gocek and Fethiye. This is one gigantic bay ahead of us. Obviously is Rhodes. And the interesting thing here is we're about to do a courtesy flag change, not quite but getting close to it. You see this coloured dotted pink line that runs up round here? That's the territorial waters, so we're still in Turkish waters until we get to that point there where my finger is, which if we touch that pink line right there, that is 1.86 miles away, so we're literally 20 minutes away. Now we've heard the Coast Guards call up a yacht. We know the Coast Guards are in the area, and technically we should have been out of Turkey yesterday, but we decided to run for cover because of the weather. So officially, if we get boarded by Turkish Coast Guards, we could be in for a fine for not leaving yesterday. Although we left yesterday on our destination for Rhodes, we stayed in Turkish waters. We should have asked for permission by ringing up the local harbour master or Coast Guards and just letting them know our plans, that although we checked out of Turkey, we'd like to stay overnight in a bay, and they would have been fine with it. We didn't do that, so technically they could pull us over just before we reached the territorial waters and give us a fine. And that actually happened to me in Croatia with Tony when we came out of Croatia heading back into Montenegro. We checked out of Dubrovnik with the intentions of heading back to Montenegro, but the weather got so bad we run into Cavtat and we stayed on anchor. Didn't go ashore, but we stayed on anchor in Cavtat. We left Cavtat the next morning, just like me and David have done today. And just before we got into Montenegrin waters, we had a Coast Guard powerboat, blues and twos flashing, sirens going. They slowed us down to about 2 knots, tied themselves next to us, and then I had to go on board their vessel with all my paperwork and pay a fine. And they said the same thing. We understand why you stayed overnight in Cavtat for safety reasons, because the weather was really bad, but you should have asked for permission and we would have been fine with it, but you didn't, and for that you got a fine, which was €80. So the same could happen here. We literally got 15-20 minutes to go and we should be over the datum line between territorial waters of Turkish and Greece. So our next thing in the next 10-15 minutes will be to drop the Turkish courtesy flag down, that one there, and then we need to change that with the Greek courtesy flag and also a yellow quarantine flag. Now I've contacted an agency that we're dealing with to check into Greece, and I've also contacted the marina, and the marina said no, we can go straight into the marina with all our paperwork. The agent will pick the paperwork up and clear us into customs, which is great, because normally you would have to go onto a dock to clear customs before you can go into the marina. At least that's my experience on sailing most of the Mediterranean, especially Montenegro. You cannot go into the marina at Montenegro, even if you've got a berth there for a year. You've got to clear customs on the dock and then come out and then go into the marina. And I thought that would be the case here, where we would need to go to the the harbour master, customs, passport control, get all of that done, then come out and then enter into Rhodes Marina. But Rhodes Marina have given us their procedure, which is nope, you can just come straight into the marina, berth up, bring all your paperwork into the office, and the agent will come and collect it all and get it all dealt with. So it's quite straightforward. So as opposed to heading into a customs dock, we're going straight into the marina, which we will contact on channel 7.1 on our VHF radio just as we're approaching the marina. We will be getting winds of about 20 knots, that's what's forecast today. And they have a dinghy ready to assist you into your berth, and a couple of marineros to tie you up and pass you your lines. So at one point I thought that might be Coast Guard, because that boat out there's not on AIS, and Coast Guards don't run with AIS, neither do the military ships, because they don't want anybody to see them. So as an example, these boats here are on AIS, so if I tap on that boat, Anastasia, and I can go into Anastasia and it tells me what it is, and it basically is a pleasure craft. It normally gives me the length and the beam and stuff, but it's not displayed. But it tells me its speed, its direction and stuff like that. If I go onto this one, My Way, we've seen this boat loads of times out in Turkey, My Way. Beautiful yacht that is. Another one over there, Haven, we've seen that before as well. And the one in front is Sime F, which is that boat over there. So that is actually now on AIS, because I don't think it was earlier. Boat over there, Sienna, seen that loads of times. I think that's a ferry, that one. So we're literally just coming up to our line where we can raise the Greek courtesy flag and the quarantine flag and get down the Turkish flag. Wind's only at 11 knots apparent, just flying on the jib, one engine running, doing 6 knots. Got 18 miles to go, so that's 3 hours. Time now is 18 minutes past 11. So we'll be there around about 2:30, which is great. Gives us the afternoon to get the boat into its berth, and then we can relax We'll have all day tomorrow to wash her down and clean her up, and then we've got a friend Jeff coming out Thursday. He's only coming for 3 days, and then we'll fly home together. So it gives us time to do a little bit of sightseeing in Rhodes. I'm back off to the UK for a couple of weeks, then hoping to come back out with my girlfriend Tracy for I think a week, and then she'll fly back to the UK and I shall stay on board. But what a beautiful day. Hardly any clouds, a bit misty, but hardly any clouds. Sea's pretty calm. Half a metre swells only. You can clearly start to see Rhodes coming up in the distance. Sorry about the camera work. Should really get a gimbal for this. Well, I have got a gimbal, just can't be bothered to use it. We got the washing machine going full time, catching up with 4 loads of washing. David's making breakfast. He's had a great time. He was just saying what an unbelievable 5.5 months we've had at sea. We started on the 28th of April. We finish officially on the 6th of October in a few days' time. We've been to, this will be our 29th Greek island. So we've sailed Montenegro coastline, the Albanian coastline. We've done 28 Greek islands before getting to Turkey at Bodrum. We've been to about 12-15 places or so, from Bodrum down to Finike, and then heading over to Rhodes, which is our 29th Greek island. Well, we think it's our 29th. There might even be another one, we're not sure. We keep looking back on where we've been, and I'm sure there's something that we're missing. But anyway, yeah, almost 30 Greek islands this year. It has been a trip of a lifetime, to be honest. We have seen some absolutely amazing places. Been anchored in some of the best places you could literally ever want to anchor in. The only thing in Turkey is moped hire is almost impossible. It's available. I think we hired mopeds in Bodrum, somewhere else in Turkey, and in Kalkan we hired mopeds. But other than that, a lot of places, you know, in these areas where you'd think there's enough bars, restaurants and shops and holiday makers that there would be motorbike hire, but there isn't. Greece, well, you can rent a motorbike in a bus stop. There's motorbike shops everywhere in Greece. Getting a bike on hire in Greece is no problem at all. A guy that we met in Gocek, who works at a marine store, one of the chandlers, we bought 2 diving tanks and harnesses off of him. Just little 3 litre dive tanks, so that if you ever want to do any sort of very shallow repair work to the boat, they're easy to put on without having to have the big 12 litre cylinders on. We also bought some stern lines off of him for when we go stern to. A few other bits and pieces. He was such a nice guy. He took us down to the agent to get checked out of Turkey. He introduced us to a couple of other people that sold us some bits and pieces that we needed. Gocek was very nice. I mean, busy as hell with yachts and boats on anchor. And of course we bought our anchor windlass off of him. And he did go out of his way, because although originally he told us that the windlass we wanted, we then unfortunately got the bad news there wasn't one available. But he'd done some research and found another windlass that's almost identical that will fit and do exactly the same job. So he went out of his way. I think his name was Thomas. Really nice guy. And he's introduced us to a guy near the marina that owns the motorbike shop where we can go and get our motorbikes. We're only having them for, I think Jeff comes out, it's Wednesday today, Jeff comes out on Thursday, doesn't land until sort of afternoon. So we're going to have bikes for Friday and Saturday, and then late Saturday we head to the airport to fly home very early as Sunday morning. So this is getting close to the end of this trip. I think we've done about 2,000 nautical miles altogether this year. We had Tony with us for the first 5-6 weeks. Last 3 months, 3 and a bit months. Yeah, 4 months. Me and David have taken her the other 1,500 miles. Not had any real issues. We dragged anchor in Syros, I think it was Syros or Simos, I can't remember now, one of the Greek islands, but we decided that day because it was windy and there were reports on Navali that the holding wasn't good. We decided that that was not an island that we was going to go and rent bikes. We had friends with us at the time, 2 guests with us, and sometimes you just have to make a decision that you need to stay close on shore in case the wind picks up and your boat drags, and that's exactly what happened. We would love to have driven around the island, but I made a decision that with the wind the way it was and the holding not being the best in the world, that we'd go ashore but be able to get on the tender and get back to our boat. And our alarms went off. We have these alarm systems on our phone connected to another phone on the boat. So there's a dedicated phone that we have on the boat that's got Anchor Pro on it, and via telegram, if that boat moves out of a certain radius that we put the GPS on, it will send a telegram alert to our mobile phones telling us that our boat's moved, and then you go back to your boat and re-anchor, and that's what we had to do. So we had that as a problem. We went stern to down in Kalkoi, which was perfect, absolutely perfect, but the winds picked up, and as the winds picked up it pushed the boat sideways and actually forced the anchor backwards, which meant the boat slightly went back and got close to a reef. So we pulled the lifelines off, the stern lines off, pulled the anchor up, and then we went out and anchored in the middle of the bay 28 metres, and then we was fine. Other than that, the boat has performed perfectly well, other than the windlass, which these boats have got a problem with the windlass anyway. We've changed ours 3 times in 3 years, twice this year alone. Maybe the new one, which is a different model, will last a bit better, I don't know. But this is our 3rd season of sailing Reality. The 4th one is next year, is May and June, sailing around some of the Greek islands, and then in September we will leave, hoping to do Malta, Tunisia, Morocco, and then get her over into one of the Canary Islands, which I still need to book the berth for the whole month of December, and then hopefully October, for the month of October, and then early December we will sail across the Atlantic, probably to St Martin's, but we're not sure yet. St Martin's or Antigua, St Lucia, one of those. But there's a lot of work to do before then. Everything needs servicing. The sails this year will come down, be washed, checked for all their stitching. There'll be new reefing lines for the main sail, new main halyard, engines need servicing, the sail drives need servicing, generator needs servicing, water maker needs servicing, boat needs to be lifted out, power washed off, anti-fouled. The props will want cleaning and painting, new anodes will need fitting, a couple of other bits and pieces need to be done. But these boats live in such harsh conditions. Yesterday we were 7 hours punching through 30-40 knot winds on the nose. but salt water is so corrosive. They just need permanent repair. In terms of warranty work, nothing really needs doing. There's a couple of jobs that never ever got done. That was more paint work where some of the white gel coats kind of got a bit like a tarnished brown colour and it's bled through from underneath. So it doesn't matter how much you polish it, you can't get rid of them. There's one on this side over there on that gangway, and there's one over there on that gangway. It seems like a weak point where they don't put enough gel coat on when they mould them. We're going to have agreed to paint it and do it, but we just need to be somewhere where there's a good body shop, because they normally want it out of the water for it to be painted. So I might be able to get it done when it's lifted out, we'll see. But this year it'll be finish off in Rhodes and then start getting her all ready for sailing for May and June next year. And then after June she'll go back in her berth, back to Rhodes. I'd like to do Simi and Tinos this year at least. Tilos, Simi, might go down to Crete, but it's quite far, not sure yet. But we've only got May and June next year for sailing until we leave in September to head out of the Mediterranean. So we would have done really almost 4 seasons next year in the Mediterranean, which it takes at least 4 seasons. But it has been the most amazing 5.5 months. Right, David is going to take down a Turkish flag and he's going to put the Greek flag up and the courtesy flag. He is on flag ceremony. There's the boundary line and there's the boat. So we are well inside Greek waters. So off with the Turkish flag. Actually quite hard to do on your own, isn't it?
Trying to keep balance as well on the boat.
Trying to keep balance. Wind's just picked up as well. Right, this is the longest flag ceremony in history. Hurry up. My phone's running out of battery. Yeah, done with that one. Actually, the Turkish flag still looks brand new. Yeah, that's the official handing over of the Turkish courtesy flag. So the Greek flag's in a bit of a mess because it's done 2.5 months already sailing around Greece. The yellow one is just the quarantine flag, letting the authorities know that we've still yet to clear in customs. There you go. So you will now raise the flags up. Tie them lines off. In fact, you get a shot from this side without the sun being in the way. And there you go. That's the flag ceremony done. Turkish flag down. We're in Greek waters. Greek courtesy flag, quarantine flag up. And of course, we still have to have a British ensign, which is down the back there, as the boat is registered as a British flagged boat. This is still the big bay that runs around Turkey. That's where we've come from today, about 3.5 hours ago. Got about 2 and a bit hours left. Let's have a look. 14 and a half nautical miles to go. We're doing 5.7, 5.8 speed over ground, so we'll be there in about 2 hours 20 minutes. Officially we're in Greek waters. It's salted. It's always the way as you're approaching a marina. The wind picks up, but it was predicted by windy today. There you go. True apparel. Not what you want when you're approaching a marina, but anyway, it is what it is. The marina's just in front. Got about 15-20 minutes left and we'll be in the marina. Hopefully we'll get some protection, but it's very low level laying, so it's not going to give us great protection. And there's a low corridor right opposite, which is I think going to allow it to funnel through, but we'll see. That's the commercial port, just outside Rhodes Marina. See the big ferry obviously, and the cruise ships, a couple of cruise ships behind the back there. Big ferry, David's getting the fenders ready, and there's the marina entrance just in front. Finally, we are in Rhodes Marina. Reality's home for a full year. So we have to bring her down this corridor. From out of there, down this corridor, round here, forward, and then reverse her into this gap. 2 slime lines, one out there, one out there. 2 lines across the back and a sprint across the back. Apparently I'm in this position for a month, and then when all the charter boats are out and the season's finally finished, we'll then move her for another, I don't know, 6 months or something, and then she comes back again. So we're here for a month. Here's our jetty, and there is the marina in all her glory. Very little protection. Very flat around here. Big cactus there. A few super yachts. And a lot of people that live full time on board, I believe. That's the new marina wall that they put in a couple of years ago. Right the way down behind the back. And apparently we're being moved in a month's time somewhere over there. So far, very nice.